Hello, my dear students. Today we are going to talk about and critically appreciate a very seminal text of Kamala Das, a poetry written by her, which is titled An Introduction. We all know Kamala Das as a feminist writer, a very strong feminist writer writing in English from India. And that's why, to understand her much better, I've already made a video on Kamala Das as a feminist writer. I'll be sharing the link of that video in the description box here, so you can go there and check it out. But for a brief summary of who Kamala Das is, she started writing with her pen name Madhavi Kutty, and she is from Kerala. She was born in Kerala, and later her married name, when after she got married, was Kamala Das. But later she embraced Islam and also changed her name to Suraya. So this is about her various names, and then just like in the words of Shakespeare, what's there in a name? A rose is a rose, it smells always the same. So when was she born? She was born on 31st of March 1934 and died on 31st of May 2009 at the age of 75 years. Kamala Das was very strong advocate of feminist writings, and a glimpse of it you will find it here in this poetry and introduction. One of the most important books of Kamala Das is her autobiography, which is very vivid and in very detail. She talks about female body, and in detail she describes her views on love and her ideas of love. And because of that, she was criticized many times. She was categorized as obscene because of her way of expression. But one of the most important text, her autobiography, My Story, it was one of a book which any feminist writer must read. This talks about everything what she feels. But what I'm going to tell you today is that before you read any other poetry of Kamala Das or you read her autobiography, this poem that we are going to talk about today, An Introduction, sums it up all. It is just the introduction of what Kamala Das's approach is towards literature, what her approach is towards feministic vein of writing, and what is her idea of poetry, her idea of herself, her idea of a writer writing in English, of an Indian writer writing in English, and of a women writer writing in English. So all the levels are covered here. So before or without waiting much time, let's start with the line by line description of the poetry. So this is the text in front of us, and we can say that the poem is written in free verse because there is no fixed rhyme scheme or metrical pattern. So starting with the first stanza. I don't know politics, but I know the names of those in power and can repeat them like days of week or names of month beginning with Nehru. I am Indian, very brown, born in Malabar. I speak 3 languages, write in 2, dream in 1. Now you see, when she says an introduction, she is giving the introduction of who she is, and the whole poem resonates her personality or what she thinks, her all inner deeper meaning towards life or her interpretation towards life. So in the very first line you see she says that I don't know politics. So when she is making this statement, she is making it very clear that these statements are not of any political intent. She is not telling these things to make some kind of political scenario or make some kind of political statement, but she is telling what is the truth. And the truth is that she is not much into politics, but she knows who are the people who are in power. And you see this word, as the word power comes, it tells that who are the people who are dominating the world front as well as the personal levels where she is encountering power. So when she is talking about her personal views or in the whole world, everywhere the people who are in power are male. So it is a male dominant society, and that's why the word par becomes very important, because in the whole poetry or in her whole idea towards writing, she is repeating or resonating the same idea, that who are the people who are in power and who are the people who are being subjugated by the people who are in power. So she says that she can name them, who are the people who are dominating the political scenario of the world, and she is naming one of them, and she says that I can name them, I can repeat them like days of week or names of month beginning with Nehru. So the name she gives is the name of Nehru, obviously, because Nehru was the figure of most dominant figure at that time, at the time of independence or after independence. And then she says that I am an Indian. She asserts who she is. She is talking about, she is vocal about her individuality and her identity. So she establishes her identity as an Indian who is very brown. And mind you, in her My Story also, she talks about how the people who were white were mistreating her because of her skin color. So it's not only just that she's talking about feministic perspective, but all other levels also. In this poem you will find the various other levels, and the most important level, as an Indian writer in English, you will find that she is talking about the English subjugating the Indians, and she's talking about the British mentality that we Indians had also fetched in our day-to-day lifestyle, when we used to think that the white color is the better, or the people who speak English, or the people who speak English in a better way are or fluently are more important, or are more to be praised of. So she is talking about the fact that she is brown, she is an Indian, she is born in Malabar, and she is proud of all these things. So she is ready to embrace it, ready to accept it, whatever she is. She is not ashamed of being brown. She asserts this fact, yes, I am brown, and I am proud of that fact that I am brown. Whatever I am, that is my identity. And then she further goes on to say that she speaks 3 languages, because she was born in Malabar, she was a South Indian, so obviously she knew other languages. But she says that although she can speak 3 languages and write in 2, but she dreams only in one language. And what is that language? Obviously the language, language with which we are born, our mother tongue. So even if someone writes in any language, because she is also writing in English and she is an Indian writer in English, so she says that she writes in 2 languages. Obviously one is her mother tongue, other is English, but she dreams only in one. Her ideas, her thoughts, her dreams comes only to her in her own native tongue. And then when she is writing in English, obviously when she knows English, she is writing in English, but at that time, what are the rebukes that she is going to face? Don't write in English, they said. English is not your mother tongue. Why not leave me alone? Critics, friends, visiting cousins, every one of you. Why not let me speak in any language I like? Now here again she is making a very bold and solid statement, where she says that okay, yes, it's true that I dream in my mother tongue. It's true that my mother tongue is very dear and near to me. But when I'm writing in English, it's not that anyone or everyone who comments that why are you writing in English and English is not your mother tongue, you are no one to tell me about it. I'll write in whatever language I feel like, even it may or may not be correct, even I may or may not be perfect in it. Because she goes on to say that the language I speak becomes mine. Its distortions, its queernesses, all mine, mine alone. So she is accepting this fact that maybe she is not perfect, maybe there are many flaws in her language, maybe the language is distorted or queer in its own way, but when she is writing in that language, she owns it. The language becomes hers. The language is mine and mine alone. It is half English, half Indian, funny perhaps, but it is honest. It is as human as I am human. So the purpose of language is most importantly to convey the thoughts, and as far as the purpose is achieved, till the fact that she is able to convey her meaning, it is good and it must be accepted. So it is human, it is honest. Whatever she is saying is true, and that is the truth that must be accepted. One must not go into deeper into, and one must not shun her off, saying that why are you talking in English when your English is not perfect, and why not speak in your mother tongue when trying to copy some other language. No, she says that whatever language I speak, whether it is English, whether it is not a perfect English, maybe it is half Indian, half English, maybe it is funny, but it is truth, it is honest, and it is human, just like she is, because it has got feelings, it has got her emotions in it. Don't you see? It voices my joys, my longings, my hopes, and it is useful to me as cawing is to crows or roaring is to lions. It is human speech. Again, see, this is the whole long narrative when she is talking about language and language alone, and Indian writing in English. If an Indian is writing in English, she says that it is very important to her because it is talking about her joys. She is being vocal about her joys, her emotions, which may be through other language, not many of the people she would be able to reach. But with this language, she will be able to reach lots and lots of people who would be able to understand her, because any South Indian language only few people will read. But when she is writing in English, I think that would be the assertive fact that many of the viewers will be there who will be listening to her, who would be reading her. So she is saying that her language is as essential as the crowing to crows or as roaring to lions, just like any animal and their speech. In the same way, her speech is very important to her. And then she says that the speech of the mind that is here and not there, a mind that sees and hears and is aware. She says that her mind is free, it is aware of what is happening all around, and whatever she is saying with some purpose and with honesty, not the deaf, blind speech of trees in storm, or of monsoon clouds, or of rain, or the incoherent muttering of the blazing funeral pyre. So she says that it's not just any sound like the sound of the raindrops, or the sound of the raindrops coming and hitting on the floor, or it's not the sound of the trees rustling, or it's not the sound of the storm. It's not any blind or deaf speech which has got no meaning. So she is mimicking so many other voices of nature, and she is saying that all these voices are incoherent mutterings. All these voices are of no importance because they do not convey any meaning, be it the monsoon clouds pouring down, or be it the trees, or be it the storm which are making several kinds of noises, or be it the funeral pyre, the burning of the dead body. It also creates a kind of muttering sound. But no, I am not dead. No, I am not someone who is just a piece or a stone in nature who has got no voice of its own. I am a normal human being. I have voice of my own. I have my own feelings, my joys, my emotions. So I'll convey my thoughts, and I'll want more and more people to know it, to hear it, and to adhere to it, or maybe they can differ also, but at least listen to me what I have to say. I was child, and later they told me I grew. Now from this paragraph, she becomes more vocal about her feminine perspective, and she says that when she was child, she was just a child, but when she started growing, people told me who she was, and people made her aware of the feeling that she is a lady. And later they told me I grew, for I became tall, my limbs swelled, and one or two places sprouted hair. So as the instance of puberty is coming, when she is growing, people are telling her, people are making her aware of this fact that no, now you have to be in your limits, now you have to do such and such things, because now you are growing. So you can no more be a child, you have to act as if you are a grown up. Why? Because she is getting tall, her limbs are swelling, and at places one or two, the hairs are sprouting. So when I asked for love, not knowing what else to ask for, he drew a youth of 16 into the bedroom and closed the door. He did not beat me, but my sad woman body felt so beaten. The weight of my breasts and womb crushed me. I shrank pitifully. So she's saying that she didn't knew after growing what was the purpose of her life, and what could she do with her life after she is growing up. Everyone told that okay, you are growing up, and she thought that okay, the most important thing would be to ask for love, and she asked for love, and what was done to her, that at the age of 16 maybe she is married off to someone. And she says that the person who was brought into my room, the person who was brought into my life, actually he never beat me, but it felt as if I was beaten. It made me feel that I am a woman, and it made me feel that the things that make me womanly, the breasts and womb, the weight is very hard to carry. The weight of the breasts and wombs are crushing me down because of these particular body parts that I am made a woman, and because of that fact that I am a woman, I am being somewhere or the other subdued, subjugated. So that made her shrink down, that made her feel pitiful about herself, that made her feel pitiful about being a woman, because she felt that somewhere or the other she is being subjugated. Although it's not beating, but still maybe somewhere mentally, emotionally she feels that there is some kind of burden on being a woman. Then I wore a shirt and my brother's trousers, cut my hair short, and ignored my womanliness. So what do you do when you are desperate to run away from the things that you feel are making you unworthy of yourself, or you think that these are the things that are making you discriminate from other people? So you want to come in power, the power that what she was talking about in the starting of the poetry. So in order to make herself more vocal, in order to make herself more powerful, or to make herself more assertive towards the world, what she thought was that okay, maybe mimicking a man would be my idea of becoming more independent and more we can say more powerful. So she did, she wore a shirt and trousers and cut her hair short. So she was mimicking all the characters that could make her look like a man, and she ignored her womanliness. Dress in a sari, be girl, be wife, they said. But people wanted you to belong. They had created these categories. They had made these labels, and they wanted you to come under that label. They wanted you to come under the label of a woman. So what are the things that a woman does? She wears saris. She has to be a wife. And you have to be an embroiderer. They said, be embroiderer, be cook, be a quarreler with servants. These are the things that ladies generally do. Fit into that label that has been created by the society for you. Oh, belong to that label, cried the categorizers. The categorizers of the society had made already these categories, and they wanted the women, the lady, the poet Kamala Das to fit into one of those categories. So you just don't climb up from your category and jump into somebody else's category. You just don't wear trousers and shirt and try to belong to a male category. No, you have to belong to your own category. Don't sit on walls or peeping through our lace-draped windows. Be Annie or be Kamala, or better still be Madhavi Kuti. So be any one of you, but be a woman. All the names that you have, Amy or Kamala or Madhavi Kuti, you can be any one of it, but don't sit on walls, don't peep through windows, don't try to act like the things that male do. You have to act like what a female does. It is time to choose a name, a role which has been given to you by the society. So she wants to shun off all those roles. She says that why only men are allowed to have those roles? Why cannot a woman have those roles? It's I who has to choose, not the society will choose for me. But still when she chose something different, when she chose to dress like a man and to have her we can say day-to-day gestures as a man, she was rebuked by the society. She was asked to fit into one of the categories what was made for her, and she was told, don't play pretending games. So it is a game that you are playing. You're pretending to be someone else who you are not. You are born as a woman, so behave as a woman. Don't play at schizophrenia or be a nympho. So now she is being called a mental, a schizophrenic person, a person who is mentally ill, or a nympho. A nympho, she is generally in her My Story also, she starts with the fact that she is not a nymphomaniac, which she was called many times because she went in searching for love from one person to another person. A nymphomaniac is generally someone who is not satisfied with one person and seeks love from many. So she was categorized as nympho, or was categorized as schizophrenic, and basically she was called mental. And she, because of these things that was going on in her mind and in her personality, she was generally considered to be someone who is an outcast, or one who does not belong to the society and its rules. Don't cry embarrassingly loud when jilted in love. I met a man, loved him, call him not by any name. He's every man who wants a woman, just as I am every woman who seeks love in him. The hungry haste of rivers in me, the ocean's tireless waiting. Who are you? I ask each and everyone. The answer is, it is I. Anywhere and everywhere, I see the one who calls himself I in this world. He is tightly packed like the sword in its sheath. It is I who drink lonely drinks at 12 midnight in hotels of strange rooms or strange towns. It is I who laugh. It is I who make love and then feel shame. It is I who lie dying with a rattle in my throat. I am sinner, I am saint. I am the beloved and the betrayed. So she says that why only me? Why only Kamala Das is being questioned when we are talking about every person? Everyone is a I. Everyone calls themselves as I. Who are you? I am. So she says that I met a man, and it's not just one man, it has got no name. It is every man. Every man is behaving in the same way. Every woman is behaving in the same way. They have been set into such kind of rules and tight compartments and such labels that they act in the same way. So every man, any man whom I meet, he has got no name. He is any man who is just an I, and who just wants a woman, just like a woman who wants a man. There is no difference. We can say the attraction or the force of nature is made in such a way that every man is attracted towards a woman and every woman is attracted towards a man. So the man and woman she says that the names are not important, because everyone is just a man or a woman, and everyone is categorized by the letter I. Everyone is me, my, I in themselves. So she is waiting for someone who is really going to quench her thirst of love. What she is really seeking, the pure, the eternal love, which she is getting from nowhere, because she is meeting many men, and all these men are just any other man who are already fitted with this social structure and are into that social structure where they call themselves a man or an I, and they are just behaving according to the society. And then she says that there is this hungry haste of rivers in me, just like the river, who keep on flowing from one place to another until it reaches the ocean. The whole sole purpose of the river is to reach the ocean. When it reaches the ocean, then only it becomes completely peaceful, at peace, at silence. So she is continuously flowing in search of that love, that the love is of the ocean kind, the love of the ocean, and the ocean's tireless keeps on waiting for the river. But that search is endless. She is not reached to that ocean yet, and she is waiting for the ocean, and as vice versa, the ocean is waiting for her. And when again, that I think that anyone who asks who you are, and the answer is I. And in this whole world, everywhere, wherever she goes, each one call themselves an I, and nobody expresses more than an I. They don't express their innermost feelings. They are just like a sword which is tightly packed in the sheath. They are in the cover. The sheath is the cover of the sword. So as if the sword will only be visible when it's coming out of the sheath, but it's not coming out of the sheath. It's not coming out of the tight compartments in which they have been tightly packed. People are so engrossed into themselves, and have actually hidden their inner emotions because of the we can say the so-called society, and the fear of the so-called society, that they are not expressing themselves. They are not coming out of the closet. They are not coming out of the sheath to show their shining sword. So everyone is tightly packed like the sword and its sheath. And this I so it's not that people are not indulging in different kinds of we can say wrong deeds which society has named it, and people are doing such and such things, but they are not only, the fact is that they are not expressing it, or they are not accepting it that we have done such deeds. So everywhere where people are drinking lonely at 12 o'clock in the midnight, or when people are there meeting another people at strange towns in hotel rooms, or the people who are laughing or making love or feeling shame, the sinner, the saint, everyone is an I. Everyone is one individual who is doing this, but no one is going to accept their sins in front of the world, and Kamala Das is doing so. She is saying that everyone has kept a rattle in their throat. They are lying. They are not telling the truth, and they lie dying with a rattle in their throat because they have kept some hidden lies inside them, which they are not going to tell to the world anytime. And everyone is a sinner and a saint. I am a sinner, I am a saint. To the world, I am a saint. And in my heart, or after midnight when nobody is seeing, I am indulging in so many such activities which the world will call as the activities of a sinner. But when I am not accepting it in front of the world, I am saint. Kamala Das is accepting it in front of the world, so she is a sinner. So this is how the system works. This is how the people categorizes you as a saint or sinner, not knowing what is going behind the scenes. So she says that such people will die with a rattle in their throat, and she says, I am the beloved and I am the betrayed. Because a person when is in love, obviously if the two are in love, fine. If someone betrays and goes hunting for love with someone else, the person who betrays and the person whom he loves, or he or she loves, one is the beloved, another one is the betrayed. So everyone is linked with one another. The whole society is in this like jigsaw puzzle where everyone is related, everyone is performing in some kind of act sometimes which they are hiding from the world, but they won't accept it. And everyone is at times a sinner, a saint, at times a betrayal, at times a beloved. Everyone has some time or the other committed some kind of shameful act in their life, and this is all what the society is. This is all what the human nature is about. And she says that I have no joys that are not yours. So the joy, the enjoyment, the happiness that anyone feels, the same Kamala Das also feels. She is no different from anyone else. No aches which are not yours. The pain which everyone in this world would have felt, similar pains she has also felt. She has also felt the pain of being loved, and she has also felt the pain of being betrayed. So she is she has also felt the joy of being loved, and she has also felt the pain of being betrayed. So she is just like anyone else. Her joys and her pain is similar to each and every individual, but then again she is thought to be someone who is different from the society because of her acts, because of her being vocal about her thoughts, because of her not being able to fit into one category which the world is calling her to fit in. And then she says that I too call myself I am also I am also just like anyone else in this world. Everyone calls themselves I, and I am also an I am Kamala Das. I am Ammi or Madhavi Kuti or whatever you may call me, but I am also a human being. I have the same emotions, same pains, same joys. But the society won't accept me because of my being vocal about my own thoughts, because my being vocal about what is right and what is wrong, about me being talking about women's right, or me being a feminist who is vocal about what her innermost desires, be it sexual, be it emotional, or be it on any platform and any level. So this is what the whole poem is all about. An introduction. She gives her precise introduction of what she is, what she feels herself to be, and be not only just in the feminist perspective, but also in the perspective of she being an Indian, she being an Indian writer writing in English, and she being any person who is brown in color, who cannot be categorized as beautiful in this social structure. But whoever she is, she says that she owns it, and she is ready to accept it. She is ready to change roles also. If she is being born as a woman, what is wrong of her acting into the structure of the society which they call that these attributes are for males? What if she acts like a male? That is her individuality. So she is we can say a revolutionary poet of her times when she was talking about all these things. And here obviously this is a very earlier poem, and that's why it's the names that she has used is Kamala or Ammi or Madhavi Kuti. But we must also know that in later her life she had also embraced Islam, and she changed her name to Suraya. So there are so many things and so many names she has, and then again all these names is nothing but just an I, as she refers to that any individual, any human being is just an I. Everyone is an I. They all call themselves I, and she is just one of them. The society has to understand that we have to accept such different notions, and not only tight compartments and fixed categories have to be made, but these categories have to be flexible. So that is all about this poetry, and it is in a very plain and simple way it has been explained, so there is nothing much to probe deeper into. It's very well clear from all her lines what she is trying to say, but the thoughts are very provoking, and obviously quite ahead of her times, and even today it's quite ahead of the time. So that is all about this poetry. I'm sure you all must have understood it, and if yes, then please don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment. Thank you.